Today is Friday, and Senator Josh Hawley, the Republican out of Missouri, will call for an up or down vote on his standalone stimulus check bill, which he introduced. It's a bill. He wrote it last week. There is no bill from anyone else over this last 2 weeks debacle except Josh. He wrote it and introduced it a week ago, and he's going to call it for an up or down vote today. What's the impact of an up or down vote on a $1,200 stimulus check bill that is separate and apart from the negotiations that are continuing to go on throughout Friday, with no deal yet in sight, no deal formulated, no bill even written on the stimulus package of the CR? In this video, I'm going to explain the impact of an up or down vote. I'm going to explain the impact that Josh has had on the narrative, and I'm going to explain the impact you can have in these final hours before we change the turn and make the push to get the right number. It's a great morning. Everything is changing by the minute, and this is going to be one of those days where you're like, oh, really? So stay with me, and let's get rock and rolling. This is a major recording of Early Mornings LALATE. Hey, good morning, everybody. Early Mornings LALATE here at the 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time edition, and this video will go over the impact today of that up and down vote from Josh Hawley. In the video before this, the 6 a.m. video, I went over the details of where we are. The summation of that video was there is no deal, no agreement on a stimulus check amount, no agreement on any deal provisions, no bill, no timeline, and they're likely to let this lapse this time. They're likely to let the government shut down tonight and then stay in town and get this done in the next 2 days, because they're not likely to get a deal to extend the time past. But what is the impact of Josh's bill? In this video, I'll go over that. So please subscribe. Also, like this video and also hit the alert button. No one's fighting around the clock to ensure that you get money. And today is the day in which the power of the purple needs to really be very loud and clear. We've been doing a great job, and you're going to see the impact of it in this recording. Meantime, over there is an instant premiere. As an instant premiere, you can chat with your profile buddies and interact and speak about what you're thinking for the day and get ready for things like hashtag Senate vote no, hashtag House vote no, and more. And with that, let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news as you start this new morning of Friday is that Hawley's position on the second stimulus check has been the only one that has been very on point and consistent and pushing the narrative forward. The question is, how far is he going to push and how vocal can he be? Let me recap where he has taken us and where this channel has taken us and where you have taken the narrative. 2 weeks ago, I pushed for I pushed for stimulus in the CR. We would not even have any stimulus in this continuing resolution bill if it was not for the purple power. They were not going to even do stimulus by this deadline. We got it in there. Then they started to do stimulus proposals, not bills, but proposals that didn't have a stimulus check in there. And we said, "You kidding me?" I don't think so. And we started the hashtag campaign, stimulus check a shutdown. That somehow ignited Senator Josh Hawley, who then said, you know what, $1,200 adults, $500 children. I've been talking to the president. The president wants to do $1,200 to $2,000. The president may veto anything that does not have a full stimulus check in there. And then the White House would have the press secretary say the White House wants a stimulus check in here. Why is there no stimulus check in here? So you had two Republicans, the number one Republican in the United States and a top Republican in the Senate, saying stimulus check or the highway. So Josh introduced a bill a week ago that said stimulus check, $1,200. Then Bernie Sanders, an independent out of Vermont, who caucuses usually with the Democrats, came into the narrative, perhaps not for the benefit, and I'll tell you why. Bernie Sanders is a household name. Everyone knows him. You say Bernie, they know you're referring to Bernie Sanders. And Josh is sort of like, who's Josh? Every day I have people saying, who's Josh? He's not known. And Bernie Sanders overtook the narrative of the stimulus check. Throughout the next 3 days, the negotiations over the stimulus package unraveled. And finally we heard that they had met And we initially thought there was a deal. There was not a deal. But there was a proposal, not an agreement on the proposal, but a proposal. $600 stimulus check. Then there was a proposal, $700 stimulus check. Then there was a proposal, $1,200 stimulus check. Holly had enough. So Holly introduced a standalone bill, which will be called for a vote today. Standalone bill, $1,200 for adults, $500 for children. We don't know much of the details of this. We don't know if it would be fixed for adult dependents. We don't know if it would be fixed for child support. We don't know if it would be, there's a lot of things we don't know about how it would be fixed. But he got the national agenda on focus. What happened, however, after that is he didn't really push it that far. He spoke one or two times on the Senate floor. He spoke one or two times on national TV. But Bernie Sanders got the bookings because he's a bigger name, got the bookings, and suddenly Bernie Sanders started folding like a lawn chair. Bernie Sanders agreed to extension for 1 week to get it done by today, unless there's a $1,200 stimulus check, and then he would push for shut down the government. Bernie Sanders has now backtracked from that and said $600 is a good amount. $600 was a bad amount in Bernie Sanders' own words just a few days ago, and now it's a good amount. That has not helped Holly. Holly has apparently not really been seen aligning with Bernie Sanders publicly like he was earlier in the situation, because now Sanders is sort of embracing $600. So what's the impact of Holly's bill vote up or down today? The impact is one of message, of course. How many people that are in the Senate who are Republicans or Democrats are going to say $1,200, meaning they want $1,200? The irony of the vote is not, do you want $1,200 or do you want $600? The vote is, do you want $1,200 or nothing? And so it's presumed that people will say yes. It's questionable how many will say yes. And what does it do? It sends a message that $1,200 is a sufficient amount, but could it pass? Unclear. And what is Holly going to do thereafter? The messaging of the importance of the stimulus check may cause congressional leaders in the Senate to start to debate its magnitude, its veracity, and some impact. Throughout yesterday, we heard a lot about negative stuff about stimulus check. It was just negative. Stimulus check is for people that are lazy, and stimulus check is for people that are this, and stimulus check. It was just very negative at some point. By the end of the day, it turned positive, but there were points in this conversation where it's had like a stigmatizing effect on things, and it's not quite clear why. We had worried about the impact of Mitch and Josh Hawley, and because they're both from the same party, and Mitch is trying to save the Senate. And certainly if there's a Republican in your party who's trying to say you're not doing the correct thing as a Speaker of the House, as the majority leader of the Senate, that doesn't look sort of good. Well, Mitch apparently is the one who came up with the $600 stimulus check, and that apparently didn't go well at all. Mitch came up with the $600 stimulus check amount for the purposes of winning 2 Georgia seats. Instead, it could be giving him his head on a platter instead for the 2 Georgia Senate seats, because no one likes $600. It looks like an insult. It looks like a slap in the face. It's a bad number. It's sort of like when you're doing negotiations, you can give people a number that's like, that's not what I really would like, but should I take it? Maybe I'll take it. What would that number have been? 1,000. If you got 1,000, it would not have been a slap in the face. It would not have been disrespectful or obnoxious or, slide or peanuts or, any of those words. It would just been, it's just not sufficient, but I guess I should take it because it's better than nothing. But when you're doing 600, it's like, are you kidding me? Are you just drunk? This is just embarrassing. And the context of the embarrassing is that the airlines, the restaurants, and the hotels are getting top dollar for their stimulus relief, but yours gets cut short. Throughout much of the day, the narratives were that unemployment was cut to give you a stimulus check. Untrue. Bernie Sanders said 3 times. Untrue. PPP was cut to give a stimulus check, which it should be. Actually, state and local was cut to give you a stimulus check as well. So where are we today? The narrative is very tight. They only have to the end of today to get something done. If not, the federal government shuts down. Most of the reporting is suggesting they're going to shut down the federal government. They're not going to do extension. They're just let it shut down. They're going to stay in town and work on this over the weekend, which is just such a struggle for them. And then as they work on this over the weekend, then they're going to introduce the stuff. The question is, where will be the push for the 1,200? And when Josh puts his up and down vote, and presumably it doesn't pass, what impact will that have on what's going on in the negotiations of the second stimulus package? The reporting is consistent. No deal as of last night. And the reason why there's no deal, the stimulus check amount. So if there is no deal, what amount gets them to a deal? That's how we think of this show. What amount gets them to a deal? 1,000? Sure, 1,000 gets them to a deal. 900? I don't know. 800, 700? No, I don't think that gets them to a deal. But the question is their deal versus a congressional deal. And I haven't explained that at all, so let me explain it right now. When we're talking about deal, it means it's about 7 people in a room talking about stuff. It doesn't mean it's 2 houses of Congress and the President of the United States. No. It means it's a couple people chatting about this, and then they're going to try to get their members of the House and members of the Senate to vote in line with it. They may not, and the president may not as well. So if you do see throughout the day a deal, it may not be a deal for purposes of anything beyond 7 people. 7 people in a room having nice lobster and $12 ice cream. You say, do you have a deal? I really want to go home and have some $12 ice cream. Deal. Simple as that. Deal. Well, what did the people in the House going to say? Who cares what they say? We do a deal. I really need that $12 ice cream. And that's what you should expect today. What should you expect this weekend? You should expect this weekend more stimulus coverage than you would normally see. What's important to understand is that you care, I care, the volunteers care, Josh cares. Some people have shown this week that they really do care. Every time that I say in this channel that I fight for the money for you, whether it's EIDL, I fight to get your EIDL applications approved. I go over your questions on air about your EIDL application. I go over why it hasn't gotten approved. Then I figure out a reason how we can get to the next step to get approved. And when that step is blocked, I go to another step. For purposes of rent stimulus, I realize that you can get rent stimulus from state, local, and city and county. But when that's not there, then we try to find another way to get rent stimulus. I continually fight to get you things. There's a lot of people out there that don't fight for you. There's a lot of people that just don't care about people anymore. And when people look at Congress and say, why don't they care? Because there's a lot of people in the society that don't care anymore. Their sense of caring is just reading a news article and saying, Bernie and Josh met last night and they talked about it. Okay, thank you and see you on the next recording. That's not really caring. People that sit around and, just sort of chat about what they want in the bill, but then when it's not in the bill, then they're not vocal about it. You saw that from the U.S. progressives. They said, we want a stimulus check in there. Okay, you got the stimulus check in there. Well, what do you think about the amount? Well, what do you think about that? Well, I don't hear you. I don't hear you. And suddenly people just sort of don't care. It's not that they're lazy. They just really don't care. They just really don't care. They have a little bit to say about something, and then they'll be like, okay, I'll see you next week. I got to go, play badminton. Elizabeth Warren came out in favor of the situation. AOC came out in favor of the situation. What have they done since then? I don't know. What have they done? It's not as though this is sort of a nominal event. This is not something, like some highway bill, some railroad bill covering some pipeline of some gas that goes over Nebraska from another state. This is not some, this is the pandemic that's killing 5,000 people a day, or how many people are dying a day. This is a pandemic. Do you think this is the time for people to start caring? I sure hope so. But ultimately, you care, I care, and the world cares. And we shouldn't really worry about what other people are doing. But ultimately, don't be surprised when they don't do stuff for you. Because that's what we've been seeing from Congress all year long. Join me next on Mornings LATE at 8:30 a.m. I expect to have big updates on that as well. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay LA for more.